Okay. I've made a post on my Twitter page.
Oh, thanks.
See if we could get you some more videos.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Here we go. Hey guys, it's Tom here for the AoStation episode, what is it, 13 or 14? I think it's 14. And we're going to cover AOS news, AOS/MOBA/Action RTS news, which includes Dota 2, Heroes of Newerth, League of Legends, Realm of the Titans, Super Monday Night Combat, Bloodline Champions, as well as Smite, and any other game that we can think of. Oh, it does, I'm sorry. And, so yeah, that's it. We're going to get straight into the show. We have a special guest on tonight's episode, Cyroris. Mrs. Cyroris. There we go. And you are a League of Legends player, correct?
Yeah, but I'm not very hardcore, I guess.
Yeah, that's whatever.
I just play casually.
That's fine, that's fine. And you also play other games?
Yep. I play, well, lots of World of Warcraft. I do like StarCraft 2. And what else do I play? I am a console gamer. I'll just leave that out. But,
you don't have to leave that out. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And I also play SWTOR. Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. And I guess we'll just go straight into the news. Unfortunately, there isn't really that much news for this week, considering that there wasn't a new hero released in Dota 2. And there really isn't that much League of Legends news, considering that it's the week after PAX East, and they released 2 heroes for PAX East, so we'll just go straight over it. The only real notable thing to talk about in Dota 2 is they released the random draft mode, which isn't really that big of a deal because we've had that mode in both Heroes of Newerth and Dota 1 for so long now. But it's it's good to know that they're still working on Dota 2, I guess. If you aren't familiar with it already, random draft mode is they take 20 heroes out of the entire roster and randomly and create their own draft with that, and then you can pick from them, I believe. And it's just another mode for selecting your hero, basically. Up there with all pick, single draft, all random draft, and banning draft. I believe on captain's mode. There we go, captain's mode as well. It's kind of complicated. Most people just play all pick, but it's for like tournaments and other special things. Some people like,
spice it up.
Yeah, some people like extra modes. But it's not like an extra map. It's not like Dominion in League of Legends. It's just another way to select your hero, basically. And that's really all we can say about Dota 2, unfortunately. And that's becoming kind of a common theme lately. There's just not that much news some weeks, and then a lot of news the other weeks. I feel like sometimes we should be doing this bi-weekly, but sometimes just things pop up. We'll see. We're going to go over to Heroes of Newerth news. As you can see, you have big old manly artillery here. If you didn't already know, they changed artillery around a little bit. What they did was they had so much negative feedback about his character design. People said that a giant robot wasn't appropriate for the Newerth universe. So what they did was they took the manly artillery, which was the alt avatar, and just switched them around. So if you play artillery without already buying him, you will only be able to play as manly artillery. And if you buy him as early access, you will be given the giant mech suit artillery alt avatar. So I kind of like that. I don't know if it was necessarily necessary, but it's interesting that S2 is listening to their community.
So it was because people were complaining that he didn't fit in?
Yeah. They thought that a giant robot didn't fit in the universe. Even though there's guys with lasers and trip mines and all this other stuff, so it doesn't make much sense. But people complained anyway, and so they changed it. It's nice
to see that they do that for their fans.
It's true. It's still technically in the game, but it's going to be a lot more rare because you only get EA alt avatars when you buy them early access. So we'll see. Oh, and if you're not familiar with the early access system, pretty much what it is it's a way for S2 to make money off of legacy accounts. What a legacy account is originally Heroes of Newerth was a buy-to-play game. You bought the game for $30, and you got everything in it. I bought it for $10 for a Christmas special. Yeah, right before it went free-to-play, and it was like the best purchase I ever made. But it went free-to-play, and now you have to, if you're a free-to-play account, you have to buy heroes and all this other stuff, like a free-to-play game is. But what they did was they added an extra mechanic where new heroes are locked for like 2 weeks or something after being released, and you can pay, I don't know how much money, but you can pay real money to access them early access. And you get a free all-avatar with them, etc., etc. It's not necessarily a bad system, because it doesn't affect me, like, it doesn't matter. Especially since S2Games, their design philosophy has always been create a crappy hero and buff them, rather than create an unstoppable hero and then nerf them. Obviously that things like that have happened, like Gemini was released and he was unstoppable because of a bug, but, you know, most of the time they like to create heroes that are underpowered and then buff them, because it doesn't affect the game as much. People can't abuse an underpowered hero, you know what I mean? And it's a whole lot easier to give someone something rather than take things away without breaking them.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, people are talking in chat. Thank you for watching live, by the way. And as you can see, you have the free-to-play roster right there. Not really important. Once again, not many strength heroes, but it's pretty well balanced. There's Nighthound, so if you are unfamiliar with Heroes of Newerth, you might want to carry a Rev Award with you, because he is the character that can be permanently invisible. So watch out. As for that, they released a new alt avatar for Rampage, as well as a new alt avatar for Nomad. It's the Rampage one is him as a rhino. Think like Rocksteady from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the alt avatar for Nomad is like an African tribalman avatar. But what I thought was interesting was I looked back at some of the old concept art for Heroes of Newerth, and I found a rhino character. And so now they're making a rhino alt avatar for Rampage. It makes me think that they had an original idea for a rhino character and then scrapped it, and then just created it as an alt avatar. I don't know, but I'm hoping that's not the case, because we obviously all want new heroes. But it's a cool alt avatar either way. As for the changes, most of them are just bug fixes. They didn't change anything for balance reasons. But that's another thing that S2 likes to do. They like to balance things very, very minimally over the weeks, and then they'll create one big Jesus patch, as Gary Gannon likes to say, and patch the, balance. It's called a balance patch. And those come, maybe once every 2 months or something. But I think it's a pretty good way to do it. Unless something's really broken, knee-jerk balance changes in games usually don't work out very well, especially in the fighting game realm. But I think that kind of transfers over to the AOS genre as well. And on that note, we're going to go over to League of Legends news. But all you League of Legends players are going to be very disappointed, because there isn't any. But I did write a guide a few days ago, I believe it was yesterday, about it's a guide for people who are transitioning from League of Legends to other games, such as Heroes of Newerth and Dota. Unfortunately,
yes.
Well, it was partly made for you guys. I have a lot of friends who play League of Legends, and that's great and all, but if they want to play other games, it's a lot more difficult when you only know League of Legends fundamentals. So I made a guide for transitioning from League of Legends. Unfortunately, there has been some negative backlash from the League of Legends community, mostly the League of Legends subreddit, but I hope it helps everybody. Yo, it's a good question, Ragugo, from chat. He asks, how do they transition from League of Legends to BLC? Actually, I think transitioning from League of Legends to Bloodline Champions would be a lot more easy, simply because League of Legends relies a lot more on skill shots, and obviously in Bloodline Champions, everything is a skill shot. So they might actually have the advantage. But that's a little off topic. Basically, what we went over in the League of Legends guide is you're going to have to learn some mechanics that aren't in League of Legends that are in Heroes of Newerth and Dota and other games based off of Dota, such as denying, juking around trees specifically, and using line of sight. I know there is line of sight in League of Legends, and I know there are trees in League of Legends, but they don't exactly work the same way in Heroes of Newerth and Bloodline Champions.
Yeah, I experienced that firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
Trying
And
to play.
as you may know, League of Legends is one of the only games that has ability power. So what this means is that if you play a character that's based around magic damage, a lot of your power will be early game, and you will kind of taper off as the game goes on and slip into a kind of support role. But that's not always the case. But you have to be wary of that. As a mage kind of character, you are going to be most effective early game, rather than in League of Legends being effective all the time and scaling just like a normal carry would. Also, in Heroes of Newerth and Dota, there are attributes rather than simply your basic stats. All these attributes really do are boost your basic stats, but they are important to the game, so you should get to know them. The strength, agility, and intelligence. Strength determines your maximum health and health regen. Intelligence determines your maximum mana and mana regen, and agility determines your attack speed as well as your armor. And each hero has a main attribute, and every point in that main attribute that you'll get +1 to your attack damage. So it is very effective to get as much of that main attribute as possible, obviously. But that really affects how you build your character item-wise in Heroes of Newerth and Dota. So you want to look out for that. Glyph of Fortification is another thing that we want to talk about. It's really small, but they actually removed it from League of Legends. It used to be a summoner skill in League of Legends called Fortify, but in both Heroes of Newerth and Dota, it is a universal gameplay mechanic. Every team has this, and it makes all of their buildings basically invulnerable for, I don't know, 8 seconds. It's a very short amount of time.
I believe they have a champion in League of Legends that can cast something similar.
Janna?
Janna,
yes,
yeah.
Yes. Her shield works on towers, yeah. Also, in these other games, you will be losing gold on death. This is gonna happen. You're gonna get used to that, okay? So if you're really farmed and you're about to buy an item, you should buy that item. Don't go die, lose the gold, and not be able to buy it. But in all these games, you can buy items when you're not at the shop, so that you can save yourself from losing that gold by simply buying an item. Unlike in League of Legends where you have to be at the shop to buy things. So make sure you understand that.
Or you can send your monkey off
yes.
to die.
And there are couriers who can help ferry items back and forth, but that's a little more complex than we are trying to be here. If you're familiar with League of Legends, you're obviously familiar with the red and blue buff, and similarly to those, other games like Heroes of Newerth and Dota have runes, which are runes that are placed at single points in the map that spawn every 2 minutes randomly, as in there's a random rune spawned, not that they're randomly spawned at different times or randomly spawned around the map. These are double damage rune, which obviously gives you double damage, only on your attack damage though. I went for about 2 years not knowing that. I thought it increased your spell damage as well, but I was a scrub. There's the invisibility rune, which is self-explanatory, the illusion rune, which creates illusions of yourself, and the rejuvenation rune, which regenerates your health and mana. These are very crucial to understanding the early game and late game metagame. The mid player usually fights for the rune control, and it's very crucial for being a good mid player. Jungling is also more difficult in Heroes of Newerth and Dota, I'm pretty sure, considering they nerfed the jungle in League of Legends recently. And there's a lot of extra mechanics that you can do in Heroes of Newerth and Dota in the jungle that you should be aware of if you're a League of Legends player, such as pulling creeps, stacking creeps, and blocking creep spawns. Sorry, go on. Go ahead.
No, I remember I was like super amazed when we played Han, and you told me there was like the day-night cycle.
Yeah, yes, I forgot about that.
Aggro that stuff.
I forgot about that. There is a day and night cycle that affects gameplay. Most heroes have bigger line of sight during the day than at night, and during the day, neutral creeps will aggro you if you become within range, but at night they'll be asleep, so the only way to aggro them is to attack them. That affects some small things. Mostly jungling, of course, but if you're trying to juke into the jungle and it's nighttime, you won't be aggroing random mobs and neutrals all the time. So be wary of that. There are also heroes that benefit from nighttime, such as Night Stalker in Dota. So that's actually a good gameplay mechanic that I didn't even remember. So thank you so much for reminding me.
I found it mind blowing.
Yeah, well, And also, I know League of Legends has wards, but I would dare to say that they are more important in Dota and Han. I know I've played a lot of League of Legends games where people just don't buy wards, and I know that's because I know I'm probably playing with scrubs. I'm a scrub myself, so I can understand that in low-level games it's not important. But in Heroes of Newerth and Dota, they are important. You need to buy them. Giving up map control and map awareness is definitely a death knell for your team. You're not gonna survive without wards. So you definitely need someone warding and counter warding. And it creates this metagame of countering each other's wards and trying to fight over ward space, and it occupies a lot of the support characters' time. I would know, I play support characters. So these are the main things that you should be aware of if you're a League of Legends player trying to get into Heroes of Newerth or Dota, as well as other games like Realm of the Titans and what is it, Rise of the Immortals. I believe some of the things also transfer over. So they're pretty basic, but I just want to let you guys know that there are some gameplay mechanics that are fundamental to Heroes of Newerth and Dota that aren't in League of Legends. Of course, it's the other way around as well, etc., etc., but we're trying to get you into Heroes of Newerth and Dota. I don't actually know all that much about League of Legends. At least not deep competitive stuff. Do you have anything to say, Cyroris?
No, it is true. The guide would be actually kind of helpful for kind of like me, people like me. I play a lot of League casually, mind you, and then play the random Han game once in a blue moon. So I remember you trying to teach the Han game to myself, 7-Bit Ryan, and Green. It was a learning experience. We've sent our monkey to its death. We had fun with that. Trying to get the trees. The trees drove me crazy. Having to remember to weave and dodge around trees. There is a lot of difference. I don't know. It'd be neat to learn more. It's just I wish I didn't get so frustrated.
Well, that's another thing. In both Dota and Han, there's a giant skill gap, and it used to be nearly impossible to get into these games because people would just stomp you. Especially before matchmaking existed, there was very little you could do unless you had a team of friends to actually get into Heroes of Newerth or Dota. Luckily, there are games like League of Legends, which are more easily approachable, and there's matchmaking in both Heroes of Newerth and Dota, so you don't have to worry so much about running against, MLG pros all the time. Or Chinese players, because they're good at everything. But on that note, we're going to go over to Realm of the Titans, talking about China. Realm of the Titans is a Chinese Dota game, as they like to call it. Preferably, I would say AOS, but, some people would say MOBA, potato, whatever. It's very heavily based around Dota, but it also takes a lot of inspiration from League of Legends, such as there's a turtle character with a giant shell, who rolls around. But, I do actually really like this game. I played it in closed beta. Surprisingly enough, it's coming back into closed beta, but I don't know how that works. Yeah, I don't know how that works. But apparently, there's gonna be more heroes released. My camera's broken apparently. Stupid camera.
No, not the camera.
There we go. Okay, sorry about that. And you can sign up for the beta, for the closed beta, right here. Go to their website, realmofthetitans.areagames.com. Click on the beta sign up. It's a good game. You should try it out at least. It's very Chinese though. It has a lot of Asian mythos going on. A lot of spiritual stuff. It's a very interesting game. There's pandas. You should play it. There's pandas.
You're saying pandas for green?
There's pandas. You should play it. On that note, let's go over to Bloodline Champions news. Unfortunately, there really isn't that much to talk about, except for the fact that there is a new Bloodline coming up called the Dryad, and you can see her right here. She is a healing Bloodline. She has a horn. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that she's based around nature. That was so unintentional, I swear. But apparently,
considering Dryads generally have to do with trees.
Yes, and she's got leaves and a tree growing out of the back of her, or whatever.
Yeah.
Ragugo actually just told me that there's going to be a stream of her tomorrow. I'll link it in the description. I don't know that much about it right now, but we'll see tomorrow, I guess. They'll be revealing her on a Twitch TV channel, which I will have linked on there. As for the rest of the news, they're talking about balance issues such as the inhibitor's runic beam and how there's been a lot of complaints about that. They also say that they might be tweaking Harbinger later on, which I find interesting because they already tweaked Harbinger. They already nerfed his damage and his survivability a bit, but I never really liked him. I thought he was kind of like a jerk character, you know, like one of those characters that you really want to play to troll people. But I hope that they don't like just nerf him into the ground like other people have done, Evelyn. But I hope they change him up a bit because really he's just frustrating to play against. As for the other stuff, they are also looking at their new bloodlines, the Stormcaller, the Headhunter, and the Metal Warden. Balance-wise, you know, they're really looking in depth about them because I think they've had enough time to really flesh out the characters, and the community's really had enough time to see what the characters are capable of. So that's really it for Bloodline Champions news. But since this is the third episode since we released the segment of the show, we will be going into the Bloodline Champion Spotlight, where we talk about a specific Bloodline Champion and tell you all their skills and how to use them. Unfortunately, I am a scrub generally in Bloodline Champions. Luckily, we have Ragugo in chat, who is a professional when it comes to this stuff. But we're going to be cycling through all the classes, so every week we're going to cover a champion of a different class. And this week is going to be a healer, and since I suck, I only know how to play the Alchemist. We will go over the Alchemist today. She is a sexually androgynous female character, which kind of sounds oxymoronic, but whatever. She looks like a boy is what I'm trying to get at. And she carries a staff. I don't think she does. She has pretty short hair.
It looks like she has pigtails just over her shoulders.
Maybe. Okay, well, instead of talking about her gender, let's look at her skills. Her first ability, which is her basic mouse 1, is her Toxic Vial. It's just a basic damage nuke, and it inflicts disease, which deals 10 damage to the target player, and 50 damage to nearby enemies every 2 seconds, and it increases damage taken from Toxic Vial by 20, which stacks up to 3 times. And damage dealt by this does not break incapacitating effects. As you may already know, in Bloodline Champions, there are 2 things. There's a stun and an incapacitate. An incapacitate breaks when you take damage. But what this is saying is that the dot damage will not break that stun, or that incapacitate, excuse me. Her second ability is the Healing Potion, which obviously it heals. That's pretty simple. But it also applies a healing over time buff. Her third ability is Barrier. That's her spacebar ability. And which means she doesn't necessarily have a very good way of moving around. She doesn't have like a leap or a teleport. She has a barrier, which gives a shield on the target player, which and it also increases their movement speed. So I guess it's kind of a movement ability, but you can put it on more than just you. So she's much more a support character than someone that relies simply on herself. Her other ability, which is like her basic ability, is her Clarity Potion. She throws a potion and it hits people, knocks them back, and it removes negative effects from allies and removes positive effects from enemies. There's also an EX version of this move called Flash Powder, which also blinds targets. Oh, the speed is only when... sorry, Ragugo is in chat telling me that the speed is only used when on self. So it is her movement ability, but she can also shield allies. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you so much, Ragugo. I should have read it more carefully. Now I feel like a scrub. She also has a hard CC move, which is Sleep Vial. It basically just makes the target fall asleep, but it also makes people around it fall asleep for a shorter amount of time. Excuse me. And the sleep is not like its own separate debuff. All it does is it incapacitates the targets, so it will break on damage. And then her last ability before her ultimate is the Deadly Injection, which is your basic offensive move. It deals damage and slows, while also, does it deal damage over time? No. When the effect ends or it gets dispelled, the injection explodes, dealing damage and weakening enemies, as well as the target, enemies around them as well as the target. And weakening, if you don't know already, reduces damage done and healing done by 50% for 3 seconds. And the EX version of that deals a ton of more damage, as well as inflicting weaken at the beginning of the spell instead of at the end. Excuse me. And damage is increased based on the distance that the projectile moves. And her ultimate is Crippling Goo. It's your basic giant AoE dot that also slows. I believe it's a dot. Yes, it is a dot, and it slows the targets. So it's very good in team fights. Obviously, it's BLC. There's nothing more than a team fight, but you know what I mean. You toss it down, and people won't move, and well, they will, but slower, and they'll take damage over time. I love this hero. I love this champion. She's very simple, but also very effective. She has a lot of ways around healing, but she's also a damage dealer. She can poison people, and she can throw potions at them and hit them in the face. She's a very effective champion in Bloodline Champions. If you're going for a simple healer, Alchemist is definitely the way to go. Now, since the news is over for the show, we're going to transition into our discussion / viewer questions part of the show. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in chat room, even though there's only 2 of you. And I know you guys fairly well, so if we can get any questions, that'd be wonderful. Cyroris, do you have anything to say based, about AOS games, about League of Legends, about Heroes of Newerth, anything?
They're worth trying, like every single one. At least play a few matches, because they vary enough that there could be one that you like a lot more than the others. Unfortunately, I've only played Han and LoL. I haven't really. Dota 2 is still in beta, so that one haven't played, obviously. And the Bloodline Champions.
Yes.
Haven't got that one yet.
Well, that's free to play, so if you're ever interested, definitely try downloading that. It's on Steam. I forgot to turn on a light, and the sun's going down, so I'm a little dark. But let's see, we have a question. And the question is from Green Cactar in chat room, and it says, with more and more MOBA games, I'm going to pretend you say AOS, with more and more AOS games coming out, they all seem to be very similar. Do you think it's because devs are uncreative, or is it because they like to play safe? Is there anything devs could do to make things more unique?
No MOBA.
To answer that question bluntly, I think it's a mix. I think some devs are uncreative, and they want to jump on the bandwagon, because this is a very popular genre and it's very new. So there's a lot of innovations that could be made, but a lot of people just aren't doing that. Originally it was all about copying Dota, because that's what Dota was kind of like the thing that you wanted to copy. But League of Legends originally started off pretty fresh. It brought a lot of new things to the table, as well as removing some things that people didn't like. But essentially, it's still Dota. It's still like a 3-lane map with a river in the middle, destroying towers. It's still the basic formula. Heroes of Newerth, on the other hand, completely ripped off Dota. There's no question about it. They even took heroes straight from Dota. But they did this with permission from IceFrog himself. I think it was actually good for Heroes of Newerth because it gave them a template to work from. After like the 2 years of it being released, it has become its own game. It's definitely carved its own niche into the genre, but it started off as a clone, basically. But talking about innovation, there's a game that not many people remember, Demigod, that came out, I believe, 2 years ago, that tried to really, it was one of the first ones to try to grab the AOS genre, and by creating something new. And what they did was they created a really amazingly good-looking game with really interesting map structure and all these interesting mechanics, but they definitely totally forgot some basic fundamentals about AOS games. They only had 8 characters.
That's not much variety.
And it was a buy-to-play game. So I don't know how much it was, but it was like, you were coughing up a fair amount of money for a really good-looking game with only 8 characters. And of those 8 characters, they only had like 3 or 4 active abilities. And
doesn't SMNC have a few? It has limited characters right now too.
It has limited characters, but it's also in beta. I believe it has more than 8. I believe it has more than 8 at least.
Isn't it like 12? I don't know. It's not that many.
Something like that.
I don't know.
But it's also an FPS. You know what I mean? It's also it's doing a lot of other things as well. Instead of just and it's free to play. I believe it is free to it's going to be free to play. So Demigod failed. Just to put it bluntly, it was a financial failure, basically because they had no way of stopping people who stole the game from logging on their servers. So actually, the first day it was released, there were so many people that stole the game and went on their servers to play, that a lot of people that bought the game legitimately couldn't play. And that was a big problem. So it's sad to say, but that's what happens when you don't know enough about the genre, and you just go in and try to make a game about it. But back to the question, there are some devs around there that are really trying to innovate on the genre, such as Smite. If you've seen Smite lately, it looks pretty cool. It's a third-person kind of almost MMO-looking game. It's an AOS, and they're taking an interesting stance on denying as well. There isn't technically denying in the game, but what happens is if a tower kills a creep, allied heroes around that get reduced experience and gold. So what that means is you no longer want to not push a creep lane. You want to push a creep lane to deny your enemies experience and gold. In Heroes of Newerth, Dota, and Han, what you want to do early game is not push the creeps at all. You want to only last hit. You don't want to auto attack. You want to keep the creeps as close to your tower as possible because it's a defensive. It's where you're safe. I think this is really interesting that they're changing it up. You actually want to push lanes and that kind of stuff. But I don't know, Cyroris, what do you think about this?
I think it's a neat way to have people push lanes, and not just that, but it becomes a bit of a priority, a little bit. And I don't know, this is coming from like LOL, I guess, because there's people that just leave lanes. Like,
yeah.
Just let the minions go do their thing. So I could see that. Could you imagine if that happens? Like, everyone's just trying to do like the one lane team versus team fight, and then the two lanes are just out there.
Yeah, that happens.
That would be interesting to see what the consequence would be.
It would be. But really, Bloodline Champions is probably the best example of innovation within the genre, because they really took the fundamentals of the genre, like what makes it fun, fundamentals, I didn't even mean to say that, sorry. What makes it fun, what makes it cool, what makes it interesting, and really break it down to the bare bones of what the genre is all about. None of that farming crap, none of that
spending 40 minutes
on
one game.
60-minute games that you lose, that's horrible. Yeah. But I really like those kind of games. I really want to see where the genre's going. I really hope companies don't go for the old Dota template, like 1,000 heroes and it's a 3-lane with a river and you kill the towers.
They're actually Dota has such an influence that Blizzard was saying that they might do a new battleground that is basically a Dota map. It's gonna have the towers. But it's gonna be, apparently they said something 5 versus 5.
Yeah, wow.
Battleground. That'll be interesting if that comes out.
Well, at least they're saying it's a Dota map instead of a LoL map.
Well, the Dota map isn't straight from Blizzard.
No, so I know. I'm just messing around. Yeah. So I really want to see that kind of innovation. I really want to see them get away from the template, because people have been playing the genre since it's step into the mainstream. I've been playing it for the last 4, 5, 6 years. So it gets a little stale, which is part of the reason why I'm not that excited about Dota 2. I'm in the beta, but I haven't played it in a while, because it's the same game I've been playing for the past, I've been playing this game for years. I don't really, okay, whatever. But, do we have any more questions in chat room? Cyroris, just as a question for myself, what do you like about League of Legends?
Well, League of Legends, the main reason why I play it is because it was one of the first ones that I was introduced to. Mm-hmm. It's probably the easiest thing to say. And some of the things I notice is that some of the characters are based off of other video game characters that I like.
Such as?
Cho'Gath is based off of he looks almost identical to one of the monsters from Spawn. It's just some of that stuff. But I guess it was one of those things that everyone started playing, and it became a social thing. Mm-hmm. I am still really bad with learning what AP and AB, because they sound the same. I'm still really newbie.
Yeah.
It's just the environment seems just the people that play it seem a little bit more forgiving. Like when we played that Han match, that guy, the guy on our team, because I wasn't on the same team as you, he was like reaming, like freaking out, like having a heart attack with myself, and I think 7-Bit Brian was on my team.
No, Green was on your team. 7-Bit Brian was on mine. Yeah.
Yeah, Green. He was like freaking out at us, calling us noobs and things. It was.
Yeah.
So I don't know, people that I find that right now anyway, because I find the LoL group a little bit more forgiving.
I totally agree with you there. Heroes of Newerth players take that stuff way too seriously. I remember I was playing with Swelius, who isn't in chat right now because it's like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning in Sweden. But we were playing on a European server, so he gets better latency. But there was an American player on the team, and he was just sitting on voice over IP, like screaming at us, like, "Dude, guys, we gotta go in. Why aren't you doing this?" And it's like, dude, calm down. Like, really? And I totally agree.
It's neat that it has the voice built in, because LoL doesn't. It just has the chat, which actually I'm kind of thankful for.
You know, sometimes, well, you can obviously mute people in Han, but yeah, sometimes it gets pretty aggravating, especially when they're the guy that thinks they know everything, like, go here, go there, go,
yeah.
or the people that only talk over voice over IP. So when they call MIAs and you have them muted, they're like, "Oh, well, you died. It's not my fault. You have me muted." Like, well, yeah, because you're a jerk. Like, call MIAs.
And you don't stop or there's like the guy that you just hear him breathe.
Oh God, I haven't run into that lately, so I don't know. Oh, we have another question in chat room, and it's from Green Cactar again, and the question is, why did I not know about wards until now? I don't.
You mainly played LoL.
Well, they have wards in LoL.
I know, but like, there's no real emphasis on using them. I'm gonna be bad. Is that I cheat. I like to play as Teemo.
Yeah. Oh, well,
you'll
there you go.
just see me like running around, placing mushrooms all over the place. Green, you've played with me when I played Teemo. You know that I put wards all around, and you know how when people go over the mushroom, you can see where they are on the map. It's handy.
Yeah, it's kind of like a ward.
Why are you circling my face, you know?
Sorry. What was I getting at? That's pretty much it, guys. Oh, I have something to tell you all about. I don't know if you're interested. Not you guys, like not you, Cyroris, or you, Green Cactar, but I have more Super Monday Night Combat beta keys. If you want any of them, just send me an email at pandamanana@gmail.com, and I will send you one over to you. Just give me your like Steam information, and I will. Actually, you won't, because I'll have your email address. I can just use that. But I have 3 more, I believe. I already gave one away last episode, so I have 3 more. It's a pretty open beta. It's not an open beta, but like if you sign up for it, they'll probably let you in. But either way, if you're having trouble, I have beta keys if you need them. Just hit me up. I will send them to you. As for that, I am Panamanana, also known as Tom, also known as Mananers, also known as, I don't know, Tom. But you can find me on Twitter at Panamanana. You can also follow the show at the AoStation. You can like us on Facebook at the AoStation. Nobody does that, but you can do that anyway. Or you can go to our website, which is AoStation.com. And that's where we talk about stuff, link videos, etc., etc. And that's where we post our show every week. And we do this show every week, Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which comes out to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or whatever Pacific something time. And somewhere around 1 in the morning European. But Cyroris, where can we find you?
The easiest place to find me is on Twitter at Cyroris, or every Tuesday, Green Cactar and I are in chat, and a few others have a show about Terra, the MMO. It's just twitch.tv/TerraBaddies, TerraBaddies.
Mm-hmm. And if you're interested, sometimes I show up on that show. Yeah. But I do believe Green Cactar also does a Guild Wars 2 podcast on the same Twitch channel. But that is on.
I don't think it's on the same Twitch channel. I think he put it on his own. I'm not sure. Green answer. I think it's just it's on his personal channel.
Whatever. You can follow him on Twitter at Green Cactar. If you want to find out more about his 2 shows or our 2 shows, I guess it's whatever. Your 2 shows.
Shows!
There you go. We have shows. We do shows. Did you know that? Yes. So thank you very much for spending time with us, Green Cactor and Ragugo. I apologize, Ragugo. I know it's late as hell in Europe. Have a good night, Mr. Ragugo. I hope you sleep well. As for you guys watching live or watching on YouTube later on, thank you very much for watching and watching our show. Excuse me. We do this live every week. Come check us out. Come hang out. You know what I mean. This is what we do. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, Cyroris, or Cy, whatever the hell your name is.
Sai,
there we go. So thank you very much for being on the show with me. You were a great help. I appreciate it greatly. Hopefully we can get more people on the show, more people who actually know what they're doing.
Yeah,
because
like me.
no, that's not what I meant. What I meant was, like, if we had like a League of Legends expert, that'd be awesome. If we had a Heroes of Newerth expert, that'd be awesome. If we had a Dota 2 expert, that'd be awesome. You know what I mean?
I'll have to become like a League of Legends expert.
Yeah, let's do that. But we'll see as the show evolves. We'll see. And if you actually want to be on the show, you can hit me up at Pandamanetta or at the AoStation or whatever. Email me. Send me an email. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you guys next time.